Dwi Rizky Saputra Tega.
Hello, my name is Maria Clarissa.
Hello, my name is Sri Amanda from English Literature 8 2019.
Hello, my name is Rosemary and I'm from English Literature 8.
Hi everyone, my name is Soluna Asri and I'm from English Literature 8 2019.
Hello everyone, my name is Rina Hayu. I'm from English Literature 8
Tani, I'm from English Literature 8 2019.
Hello everyone, I'm Luatan Sitorus from English Literature 8
Okay, the first part is psychology and literature. Literature is a product of human thought. It might be influenced by the environment of the author, even if it might contain the other ways of life. Most people consider that literature works are matter of human life, or in other words, literary works are used by authors for telling what they feel, see, or they face in social life involving human activities. Literary works also known by people in written form. Those are novel, poetry, and also play or drama. Psychology and literature has a deep connection in human life. Both deals with the human behavior, expression, thought, and motivation. Cartono describes psychology as the science of human behavior. Psychology, broadly defined, is the scientific study of behavior, both external observable action and internal thought. Psychology can be used to explore and explain things and phenomena of human life by applying the principle of psychology in literature works. For some conscientious artists, psychology may have threatened their sense of reality, sharpen their powers of observation, or allow them to fade into undiscovered persons. However, itself, psychology is the only preparation to the art of creation, and in the work itself. Psychology thought is an artistic value only if it enhances coherence, complexity, or in a short word, it's called an art. Hi, I'm Dwi Rizky.
Whether it realizes or not, our everyday life is very complex, but it is explainable. Men can understand the problems that they face and solve the problems by using psychological theory. By using theory of psychology, the complexity of the problems can be made simpler. People can solve the problems if they see them from the positive way. Psychology can be used more deeply about a message or characterization and other elements of the novel. The novel is a representation or mirror of life. Psychology can help to reveal the reasons of human behavior and motivation. There is a close relationship between literature and psychology. Cohen thought that the psychology can help to clarify some literary problems and literature represent insight to psychology. And Cohen also assumes that psychology's manner of the conceiving and the personality is supported by the intuitive representations made by novelists, dramatists, and other creative writers. It can be seen that there is a relationship between literature and psychology.
The psychological approach reflects the effect that modern psychology had upon both literature and literary criticism. Fundamental figures in psychological criticism include Sigmund Freud, whose psychological criticism has a number of approaches, but in general, it usually employs one or more of three approaches. Firstly, an investigation of the creative process of the artist. What is the nature of literary genius and how does it relate to normal mental function? And the second is the psychological study of particular artists, usually noting how an author biographical term affect and influence their motivation and/or behavior. The third is the analysis of functional character using the language and method of psychology. The psychological approach leads most directly to the substantial application of the meaning of literary work. Discussing psychology and its place in literary work is studying the author, imagination, science, or literary work are based on some kind of experience, and since all writers are human, we need to be a cause of emotional problem caused by experience. Not all psychological pages in the analysis of literary work are done to arrive at the understanding of literary work to some extent.
Literature contains several phenomena related to the human soul. The author reflects the phenomenon through characters in literary works. It makes literary can be analyzed using psychological theories that also find the human soul in real life. Literary psychology is defined as a discipline that views literary works that contain some event of human life played by imaginary characters or even factual characters. Wellek and Warren, in Theory of Literature, explain that there are several definitions of literary psychology based on the subject of research. First, psychology of literature that studies the psychology of the author as an individual. It means that a writer is a human being who cannot be separated from the nature that has the desire and emotion. Based on his passion and emotional background, he can create literary works. Second, psychology of literature psychology that studies the creative process. It means that this study looks at how the process of work can be made into whole literature work. Third, psychology of literature that studies the type and principles of psychology applied to literary works. It means that this study looks at how the topics and cases in psychology are applied in the character of literature works. Fourth, psychology of literature that studies of influence of literary works on the reader. It means that this study sees the influence of literary works on the reader, whether it affects the way of thinking and the way of life of the reader or not. This This study is kind of the third research. It studies the type and principle of psychology, which is applied in the Martian.
Okay, in this video, I'll talk about Theory of Individual Psychology by Alfred Adler. Alfred Adler was born on February 7, 1870 in Vienna. Alfred and the other 9 members founded the Society of Individual Psychology in 1912. The theory can be used to express the basics: motivation, can drive other motivation. His theory, the 6 concepts in personality, reveal the reason and the effect why people do things. He believes in a boost or motivate the power behind our behavior, claiming that our desire to fulfill our potential become closer and closer. There are main 6 concepts of personality according to Alfred Adler.
Another, feelings of inferiority can be used as a stimulus to fight or as a blockade of sense and reason for not trying. Adler states there are 5 types of inferiority. The first is a feeling of physical inferiority that comes from physical weaknesses. As compensations, usually someone will strive for strength, beauty, and good health. Second is psychological inferiority feeling. It's like feeling or acting crazy, self-embarrassment, and feeling bad. This kind of low self-esteem will form a person who strives for a positive character, prides himself, and like other people. Third is a feeling of intellectual inferiority formed by ignorance, learning difficulties, and boredom. Someone in this situation will strive for knowledge, understanding, skill, academic success, musical enjoyment, art, drama, and literature. The fourth is social inferiority feeling. It happens when a person experiences in situation of being alone, isolated, and non-existent in society. This kind of people will seek to relate to others, membership in organization, and self-existence in society. And last is the feeling of inferiority that is economically provoked by poverty and financial difficulties. The compensation is getting rich, good income, financial security, etc. That's all from me. Thank you.
The second is fictional finalism. According to Adler, human is motivated more by his future expectations compared to past experiences. All the partial and realistic goals a person undertakes on that line, in the directions and toward that goals. And because that is the purpose that determines one's thoughts, feelings, desires, and actions, a normal person can free himself from the effects of these fictions and face reality when necessity is needed, something that neurotics can't do. The third is striving for superiority. Adler's first basic assumption is that life is the ultimate movement and that he must continue to strive for better adaptation to the environment. The drive to achieve a better adaptation never ends. In this case, this becomes the basis for the concept of struggle to master, striving to overcome, striving for superiority. Striving for superiority strives for a perfect finish. The striving for superiority always indicates that all psychological phenomena contain movements that start from feeling inferiority and reaching up. The theory of individual psychology about psychological compensation states that the stronger the feeling of inferiority, the higher the goal for personal power.
4. Creative self. Creative self is something that interferes between the stimulating on the person and the response who makes to the stimuli. The doctrine of the creative self affirms the man of own personality. He built it off the heredity of raw materials and experience. Creative self gives meaning to life. It creates goals and means toward the goal. And the 5 is style of life. Adler believed that personality is formed with the first 5 or 6 years of life, and often the personality of the child is formed in direct response to the family situation. A child tries very hard to please the parents and avoid feeling of inferiority. Curtains behavior patterns work on the context of particular society of family, but the others do not. But yours do not. For example, some children get their way by being nice, and this can establish into a friendly lifestyle. Other children may learn to be hard and do not care. Adler will say these patterns I form in children will carry over to the priorities of adult personality. And the last one is social interest. As a social creatures, we do not exist let alone develop, where others and even the most resilient human hatred in social context. Social interests are made up individuals who help people to achieve the goals of a perfect society. And social interests are the true and inevitable comparison for all the natural weakness of individual human beings. Thank you.
Okay, in this study, the researchers didn't use all 6 major humanistic but also used 5 personality concepts. Not only that, this study also used Adler's motivational theory, such as the struggle for excellence or perfection. So, there are several studies that can be correlated of the object. The first, the study was conducted by Agatha Dwelestari, 2016, that entitled An Analysis of Rukmani's Personal Struggle for Her Life, as reflected in Kamala Markandaya's Next Star is a Zip. The results show that Rukmani has to hard work to survive, and finally Rukmani can survive and overcome her problems. And the second, the study was conducted by Alice Wirimyarti, 2014, that entitled Struggle for Normal Life in Stephanie Meyer's Twilight novel, 2005, an individual psychological approach. The results show that Edward should know everything about his girlfriend, Isabella Swan, and finally he has to fight to keep his girlfriend alive from the hunters or sucking human blood. And the last, the third, the study was conducted by Jenny Carlson, 2015, that entitled Alice's Fascination Between Childhood and Adolescence at Lewis Carroll Alice Adventures in Wonderland. The results show that fascination can be traced between childhood and adolescence in Alice looking for identity, and finally Alice's side change caused him to re-evaluate frequently the world around him, an emotional journey through Wonderland. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thanks.